Some huge developments out of the United States Senate, where U.S. senators appear to be moving forward on getting answers about UFOs and UAPs with a major new bill and huge developments. We wanted to bring in Dr. Michael Salla, one of the world's foremost experts on these government secret programs and UFOs. He writes at exopolitics.org. Doctor, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you, Clayton.
So this bill is pretty big developments with this provision of the 2024 Intelligence Authorization Act. What did the Senate bill, this new bill from Marco Rubio and Kirsten Gillibrand, what does it say? What does it demand?
Well, it sets out the parameters by which corporations and individuals working in special access programs are going to be allowed to get funding for their participation in those programs, as long as they report what concerns UAPs, UFOs, anything involving non-Earth technologies, that they are obliged to report that now to the AARO office. That's the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and in particular to Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. So now all SAPs that are dealing with any kind of recovered technologies, any kind of exotic craft that have been recovered, that these are now obliged to be reported to the AARO office. And if people don't do it, if corporations don't participate in this disclosure, then they're liable to lose their funding.
This is a massive development. I wonder how much teeth it actually has, though. So you've reported your great book on Antarctica, which I just finished reading. Of course, you talk about the deep connections with AT&T and Raytheon down in Antarctica involved in these special access programs. Do you expect that we're going to hear from Raytheon coming forward and saying, yep, well, we have these crashed UFOs. We've been reverse engineering them for years. We hope that you'll keep funding us. Like, are they going to be able to skirt around this?
No, I don't think so. I think this bill has real teeth to it, and it really marks a tremendous transition for the U.S. Congress, which has been pretty silent on these UFO issues for decades. I mean, back in 2001, 2002, I was hearing stories about congressmen being threatened if they dared to pursue anything related to UFOs and extraterrestrial life. And so congressmen were interested. There were quite a number of them. And they were threatened, and they went silent on this issue. But now we're seeing the reverse, which is quite a significant shift, because the Achilles heel of this world of covert special access programs is Congress and inspector generals for the different departments. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are in terms of the hierarchy. You can be a 4-star general, you can be the president himself. And if you go to one of these projects and say, I want to know what's going on in there, you're denied access. We have examples of that occurring. But now with this new legislation, these corporations are obliged to report to this new committee, or this new office set up under Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who in turn has to give regular reports to Congress on what he's finding. So, this is quite a tremendous turnaround, because now for the first time, these projects, special access programs or controlled access programs, they are now on notice that there's a certain timetable that they have to pursue if they want to stay on the right side of Congress and get whatever funding they require for their participation in these kinds of projects.
So they'll have to come forward and disclose UFOs, particularly UAPs, their involvement in the reverse engineering programs of these craft. But also, will they have to expose how much money they've received from U.S. taxpayers off the books? Because, just go back to Donald Rumsfeld in early 2000s saying, then Secretary of Defense, admitting there's about $2.3 trillion that we don't know where it goes. We have no idea where this money goes. And he's part of the Pentagon. Where's this money flowing? Well, they have to come forward and say, yes, we've been receiving hundreds of billions of dollars off the books for the past 20 years in these programs. And by the way, Congress, you're not on a need-to-know basis. So you weren't even made aware of any of this.
Right. Well, there's actually two ways in which these covert programs are funded. One is through what is regarded as kind of like the official black budget, which is these line items in the uh, Department of Defense uh, budget, which refer to kind of like these vacuous, non-existent programs, but the funding for that goes to the intelligence community. And so when you add these all together in any particular year, you see that the intelligence community gets roughly somewhere between 70 to 80 billion dollars a year. So that's about as much as the intelligence community acknowledges over how much it is funded, which is, there are 18 different intelligence agencies and departments within the US bureaucracy. But there's also an illegal black budget, which is money that is raised off the books, through things like pump and dump economics on Wall Street, through the drug trade, um, through kind of any kind of illicit shakedown of organized crime. That there are different ways in which government agencies such as the CIA can raise the money off the books to fund these unacknowledged special access programs. So estimates of that go as high as $1 trillion, which dwarfs the $80 billion that Congress believes that the intelligence community is getting. If this illegal black budget exists, which I believe it does, we're talking over $1 trillion, which is even more than the Pentagon. So all of that money is siphoned off through the Pentagon, and we know that through auditing reports that there's a massive amount of money moving through the Pentagon that can't be tracked accurately through any auditing process. But we know that that funding ends up in the hands of these program managers for special access programs, dealing with the study and the reverse engineering of these captured extraterrestrial technologies. And so by Congress now authorizing this Intelligence Authorization Act for 2024, what they're doing is they're putting on notice all of these special access programs, saying, well, you need to report what you're doing to Dr. Kirkpatrick and the Arrow office. Otherwise, whatever funding you're getting, we're going to block it.
Hmm. Now, we know that these many members of Congress, of course, are deep in the pockets of the military-industrial complex, right? So this was always my fear when you had a Marco Rubio and his involvement in this, and how much money you're getting from the military-industrial complex, and then you're putting forth a bill like this, and how the sort of separation between these members of Congress and then also having teeth in this thing to hold them accountable. And I want to know where that line is. And it seems to me a kind of a blurry, fuzzy line between these people in Washington who get all of their money, a lot of their money from the military-industrial complex. Do you think that they will hold strong on this? I mean, I know you said it does have teeth, the bill has teeth, but who's going to be the enforcer of this? And I know you're not a politician. I know you're not a bureaucrat, but who's going to be the one actually knocking on the door, doing the Elliot Ness, saying, we're coming for you. We're shaking you down here. You guys have been hiding this money and hiding these programs, and you're going to lose your funding here. Who's going to do that? Who's going to be the enforcer?
I think it'll be US Space Command. I mean, of all of the government bureaucracies and departments that stands to benefit the most by this kind of bill and this attempt to create transparency and oversight in UAP programs, the entity which stands to gain the most is US Space Command. Because what they are doing is that they are integrating all of the space assets of all of the military services and developing competent combat capabilities deep space to deal with whatever threat the United States and the Earth faces in the future. And I think that who ultimately is behind this bill, I think absolutely the military-industrial complex is giving the green light to this because Space Command is going to need battle groups, space battle groups. They're going to need space carriers. They're going to need fleets of space fighters. They're going to be they're going to need to have the capability to develop off-world bases. So this is going to be a huge boon to the military-industrial complex. So you're absolutely right that Congress is in the hands of, or in the pockets of, the military-industrial complex. So and this particular bill had unanimous support. All senators from Democrats and Republicans voted in support of this bill. So it shows that the military-industrial complex wants it to be passed. And as I said, the greatest beneficiary is going to be US Space Command. The greatest loser in all of this is going to be the CIA and the National Reconnaissance Office, because they collaborate in a secret space program, which is done off the books using the funding that the CIA has been able to gain through these illicit activities. But now with this legislation, all of the companies that are involved in developing and reverse engineering any kind of advanced technology, found off-world or whatever, that they have to now create transparency and report this to this AARO office. So that applies to both the CIA-run programs and the Defense Department run programs. So yes, I think the big beneficiary is going to be US Space Command, and the biggest loser is going to be the CIA covert operations.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because now they don't have to operate in the dark anymore, hiding these programs. The amount of money they go through with secrecy, they'll be able to build this out in the open and openly talk about it. And the CIA, of course, which has been running a lot of these secret special access programs involved in human trafficking, all sorts of nefarious things, will get the short end of this stick. Can you be specific about what a special access program? Can you give an example of one that you've researched heavily? What a special access program might shock our viewers to even know exists?
Well, for example, there's a special access. There are different types of special access programs. Some are called unacknowledged special access programs, which is the existence of these programs are not even acknowledged. So you can have select members of Congress, typically the members of the chairs and the minority ranking members of the Senate or of the House of Representatives, the Department of Defense, or the Defense Committee or the Intelligence Committee, that they might know a little bit about these special access programs. But if they're unacknowledged, they can't be revealed. So, for example, you would have, say, at the Area 51 facility, an unacknowledged special access program dealing with the reverse engineering of the propulsion system for an exotic craft. So this is what Bob Lazar reported back in 1989. But there's a cover program for that, for those kinds of unacknowledged special access programs, which is the U-2 spy plane or the SR-71 out of Area 51. So what you have with these unacknowledged special programs, you have the study and reverse engineering efforts with some recovered exotic or off-world technology. But above that, you have a less classified program, which is still going to be top secret, like the SR-71. It will be a top secret program. So that way, anyone in Congress that wants to explore rumors of some kind of like reverse engineering at Area 51 of these kind of technologies, they get read into the SR-71 program, and they know a little bit about that, but they're told that they can't reveal anything about that because behind that there's an even more highly classified unacknowledged special access program.
Yeah, and there's so many of these that you've been documenting over the years from whistleblowers and insiders. Your work is stunning on this. Do you think that, well, now this heads to the House, do you think then President Biden will sign this bill? This is a bombshell piece of legislation.
Well, that's right. Yes. I mean, there's going to be a House version that's going to be developed. And what will happen is that even if the House version doesn't have these provisions in there to start with, once it goes to a committee involving both House and Senate Intelligence Committee members to reconcile their two different versions, and that'll be towards the end of the year. They'll come up with a version which is almost certain. Well, it's certain to include this because this was passed unanimously, so there's no objection. And I think, as we said, it's because the military-industrial complex stands to benefit greatly from the passage of this bill. And so once you have both houses of Congress passing this bill, then it'll go to the office of President Biden, and he'll sign it, and it'll become law. And in 2024, at the very least, we're going to see some pretty major disclosures as whistleblowers and corporations really kind of deal with the ramifications of this legislation. Because, I mean, if any corporation is facing the genuine threat of losing funding for its participation in a special access program, then I think it'll say, okay, yeah, we're gonna reveal what we're doing to this Arrow office.
Right. And because they're behind it anyway, they want to live it out in public, and they're able to do it in public now without having to spend all the money to hide it. Fascinating. Well, 2024 could be the year of disclosure from a lot of these major companies, and we will be watching it very closely. Dr. Michael Salla is his name. I encourage you to check out all of his writings over at exopolitics.org, and of course, all of his books as well. They're just a mountain of information. Doctor, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Clayton, for having me.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.